So the most powerful weight loss secrets, because I don't know about you guys listening, because maybe you're not a traditional audience, but keep in mind that most of the audiences I speak to, and most people in America, are overweight and still have too much fat on their body. So then we want to make them eat only at meal times, eat more fat loss promoting foods like I just mentioned, the fat loss promoting foods, the raw vegetables, the cooked greens, and the non-starchy vegetables that promote fat loss like tomatoes, eggplant, peppers, onions, and mushrooms, which have powerful anti-fat storage, anti-angiogenic effects. They say, no way, Jose, I'm not letting you put fat on your body. And then eat legumes like lentils and black beans and azuki beans as your primary carbohydrate source. So eating less quinoa, less potato, of course, more spaghetti squash, more lower, some winter squash. All these things are fine with people with high caloric needs, but as you're modulating your calories lower, eat beans as your primary carbohydrate source, especially if you're more overweight or more prone to diabetes. Beans are a lower carbohydrate food. So don't forget, we can score foods on a hierarchical scale of quality, and beans have the most slowly digestible starches, and they're also richer in protein and very lifespan promoting. And we're saying here that the fiber and resistant starch in beans has a strong effect on modulating the apostat in the hypothalamus, and of course fuels the growth of favorable microbiome, producing more of those beneficial short-chain fatty acids that butyrate, and butyrate controls your appetite to a degree. So more beans and more in your diet is a dramatic effect on lowering your appetite effectively too. And of course, they're low glycemic and prevent the release of insulin. So going back to the importance of eating nuts and seeds for a minute, I want 1/3 to 1/2 of your nut and seed intake to come from the high omega-3 nuts like hemp seeds, flax seeds, chia seeds, and walnuts. Walnuts, the king of all nuts, because it's so high in omega-3. So it's not that you can't eat pistachios and pecans and cashews and things like that. It's just that they should not be the major source of your nut or seed intake. If I'm putting a dressing or a dip or a recipe that calls for cashews, I'm going to remove half the cashews and put half hemp seeds in with the cashews. So hemp seeds are so benignly flavored, you can put more hemp seeds in to increase the omega-3 ratio of any dressing or dip or sauce just by substituting more hemp and walnuts in place. I'm going to make a banana ice cream. I'm going to take that frozen banana and whip it up with real vanilla bean powder and a little bit of hemp and walnut to give it that creamy mouthfeel. So if I want to put some macadamia nuts in, I'll put maybe just a little bit of macadamia nuts with some hemp or walnut, with some hemp seeds in, and I'll make this incredibly delicious banana ice cream for dessert. And then I'm utilizing those higher protein nuts and seeds like hemp. Notice hemp seeds fits the category of both high omega and high protein. Sunflower seeds, pine nuts, especially when we're dealing with a lot of athletes, sometimes with the elderly. Paying attention to protein adequacy is important from individual to individual, because some individuals require more protein and some of the elderly even require more creatine, lest they have more muscle wasting or muscle cramping. So it was important to be monitoring people to make sure they achieve nutrient adequacy. Okay, so we're on this diet, eating lots of vegetables and lots of salads. And then we want to be able to make salad dressings and spreads that make vegetables taste good. I'm running off to travel or a plane. I might use a cauliflower wrap or a Ezekiel wrap or something, and I put in there, roasted peppers or avocado or roasted or cooked mushrooms in my wrap with sprouts and tomatoes and whatever, and maybe I'll put a pesto sauce on that, or I'll marinara. Maybe I'll take my garlic nutter spread, which I'll take by always keeping a lot of roasted garlic along. So I'll take the whole head of garlic. Don't buy the garlic that already has the paper off it with little cloves. Take it with the whole head with the paper on, because then when you cook it, it keeps the nutrients and moisture in better. So I'm saying roast the garlic, at about 300 degrees for 30 minutes. or 325 for 25 minutes. In other words, roast your garlic in the oven until it gets soft, but keep the paper on. And then when the paper's off, you can take your serrated knife and cut the edge off, which has the root, and you can squeeze it and pop all the garlic out, popping out, and you can take the roasted garlic out, because the roasting garlic is the secret to make foods taste great. And then I take that roasted garlic and mix in with maybe some hemp seeds or cashews and make a garlic nutter. Maybe put some nutritional yeast in there. Make a great flavored dip. But now I can turn that garlic nutter spread into a host of different dressings, right? I can put some basil and a little bit of lemon in there and turn it into a pesto sauce for the wrap I made for the plain. Or I can put some tomato sauce in there and a little bit of, fig or balsamic in there and turn it into a marinara dressing. Or I can put a little bit of mustard in there, or a little, basil vinegar, or what's it called? Lemon basil, lemon basil vinegar, a little balsamic vinegar, a little mustard in there, and make it into a garlic Dijon. I can turn that dressing into a million different dressings. And I mentioned the orange sesame dressing there already, that I traditionally use those, where I take the sesame seeds and toast them very lightly, and half of them I put on the salad, and half I blend in with the cashews and the oranges and blood orange vinegar and a squeeze of lemon to make a delicious fruity dressing. Or I take just a tomato-based dressing based with tomato sauce. A lot of times I like to make my own tomato sauce, because tomato sauce you buy in the store is too watery and has no flavor. I usually take some unsalted sun-dried tomatoes and buy a low-sodium tomato sauce and plop the sun-dried tomatoes into the tomato sauce to thicken it. Or I'll take the tomato sauce and I'll put it on the stove on a low flame and cook some of the water out of it to thicken it. But best of all is growing my own tomatoes. Tons of tomatoes and saving them frozen in the freezer, huge amounts of tomatoes, growing as many tomato plants as you possibly can take care of. And then having lots of extra tomatoes, you can make your own sauce with garlic and onion in there and little basil, but really cooking it down on the slowest flame possible and cooking it all day long for like 10 hours to make a sauce that's much more flavorful and thicker than you could make. And I'm using the skin and the seeds of the tomatoes. Some I'm coarsely grinding, but some I'm grinding more finely to break all the seeds and skin down. Not like an Italian tomato sauce where they throw the seeds away and they throw the skin away. We want to use the seeds and the skin in our tomato sauce, but you make a lot of this homemade tomato sauce. It's nice and thick. It's great for making salad dressings. And you mix some nuts or seeds in with it, a little black fig vinegar, maybe a drop of organic raisin in there, and you make an incredibly delicious sauce, tomato sauce. And of course, ginger almond is a popular salad dressing. Walnut balsamic or almond balsamic is a popular dressing where people use roasted garlic, a little balsamic vinegar, and almonds with a touch of raisin. When you're using balsamic, it's such a bitter vinegar that using a little drop of raisin in there helps make it taste better. If I'm using a chili dish, with a chili, I'm not going to put raisins in there. I'm going to use organic currants, because raisins are too big. And you'll sometimes get one on your spoon and sometimes you won't. Currants are more expensive than the raisins, but if I'm using a chili or a vegetable dish where I'm putting some fruit in the vegetable dish or some sweetener to it, I'll use a natural currant because it's smaller and disperses that kind of sweet flavor throughout the dish much better. And of course, there's a blueberry pomegranate dressing or blueberry dressing with nuts and blueberry vinegar and some frozen blueberries is really great. You can make a mango dressing. You can make a strawberry dressing, all types of delicious types of salad dressings. And you can make dips at night, which are low in calorie, like a salsa dip, salsa is usually made with peppers and tomatoes. Like I said, I'll put a little bit of currants in the salsa. Whenever I'm using more spice, like oregano or chili powder, to make just a touch of spice in that bean salsa, and chopping or blending a little bit of kidney bean or azuki bean in there with tomato paste. Of course, the secret ingredient is the currants, not the raisins. And the most nutrient important ingredient is the scallion. Don't forget the incredible power that scallions have to prevent cancer. And tomatoes in general, cooked tomato products, are very powerful anti-cancer effects. So the fact that you're making a tomato-based dip at night with some kind of little bit of spice, and we don't want to heavily spice things, because heavily spicing things can deaden your taste buds and make you no longer appreciate more subtle flavors. We want to only lightly, very lightly spice things. And then, of course, to make hummus. And when you're making a hummus using chickpeas and sesame seeds, we want to use some baked eggplant in there to dilute the nutritional density to make a lighter hummus. You can eat it more liberally, so it's not so calorically rich. So again, the secret is roasted garlic, using lots of roasted garlic in the hummus with baked eggplant, which you baked in the oven at 325 for like 35 minutes. And then you took, or 45 minutes, and then you took the skin off the eggplant, because we don't want to eat, if it's been baked in the oven, we don't want to eat anything darkened that has skin on it. You can use the skin of the eggplant when you're making stews and soups, because you cook water-based cooking, you're not burning it. But once you're baking it in the oven, you take the skin away. So scoop out the center of the eggplant, mix it in with your chickpeas and your sesame seeds, your roasted garlic, a little secret ingredient, some fresh horseradish, with a little bit of lemon, makes it a really delicious hummus for your dip at night with the vegetables. And this Caesar dressing always gets the great rating on the website. You don't have to use all these different ingredients, of course. You could use some of these ingredients, but of course, remember, when we're putting in cashews, I'm going to put cashews and hemp seeds, not just plain cashews, some tofu in there, and a little bit of low sodium miso, a little bit of raw garlic, but lots of roasted garlic, a little mustard, a little date to sweeten it, and a little bit of kelp to give it that little seafood type flavor, and a little nutritional yeasting lemon juice. People love this dressing. We serve this at the retreat a lot too, where people love the Caesar dressing. And we, of course, aliquot it out so people know exactly the amount of calories they're getting for each serving. And we use a salad dressing little bowl that holds your salad dressing. And so if you're making salad dressing in a Vitamix blender at home, you got to know exactly the amount of nuts you put in it, so you make sure you know exactly how much to measure out for each day's use. And a lot of people like make some dressing or dip on a Wednesday, and they'll use that same dressing Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and maybe they'll Saturday make another dressing, use that Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. So in other words, we usually making enough, and we're not cooking every night, eating leftovers for a few nights. But it's worth it to make these great tasting dressings. And like I said earlier, artichokes taste so good and are so wholesome. They're high in protein, right? And they're only 25 calories for a whole artichoke, and they're so high in protein and so filling. You can eat, eat four. I'll eat two artichokes, 2 whole artichokes, 4 artichoke halves, a whole artichoke. I'll take, you touch the very bottom of the stem and the very top of the thorns off, and I'll cut the artichoke in half with a heavy knife, as you can see, exposing the choke and the heart. Cleaning the stem off, it's nice and smooth, and then taking a small knife, a small sharp knife, and cutting along the demarcation line between the choke and the heart. You see that moon-shaped line, cutting deeply, removing those like fuzzy, inedible, plastic-like leaves and fuzz in the choke. So I'll cut the artichoke in half, take the choke out, and the little purple inedible leaves in the center come out, and throw it away. And now I can steam that artichoke in boiling, get the water boiling, and then steam it above the boiling water for 18 minutes is usually sufficient, or 20 minutes in a higher altitude, so the petals pull off the choke easily. If you're going to pull off the outer petal, it would come off the choke. And you eat the whole inner side you eat the whole. Small petals are edible, and the whole choke and heart and stem are edible. And it's a food that should be a regular part of your diet. I'll even buy frozen artichoke hearts and take them in a bag on it when I'm traveling. But I love artichokes and eat a lot of fresh artichokes.